I was already taking my apron off when it happened. That's how done the night was. The kind of done where your body moves before your brain does because you already know the ending. The dining room was quiet in that unnatural way, like everyone had agreed not to breathe at the same time. The man everyone feared had stood up, adjusted his jacket like the place offended him, and said, "I'm finished here." And just like that, the future of the restaurant, and honestly, my job, my rent, my whole fragile little setup was walking toward the door. Let me back up for a second. My name's Lily Harper. For most of my life, I've been the invisible kind of person. Not tragic, not dramatic, just overlooked. The girl people talk over, the one managers snap their fingers at, the one you assume doesn't matter because she's carrying plates instead of opinions. I worked at a high-end restaurant called Ash and Crown, the kind of place where the chairs are uncomfortable on purpose and the menu reads like a dare. I'd been there exactly 19 days. Long enough to know who had power and who didn't. Long enough to know I didn't. That night, our biggest nightmare walked in. His name was Elias Cade. Changed name, obviously, but you know the type. Shipping money, private jets, the kind of guy whose bad mood costs other people their jobs. The manager. Roland pulled me aside so close I could smell his breath. "If his glass is ever empty, you're fired," he said. "If he asks for anything twice, you're fired. If he's unhappy, I'll make sure you never work in this city again." I nodded, like I always did. I needed the job. Student loans don't care about dignity, and neither does rent. Elias sat down, didn't even look at the menu, and ordered like he owned the place. Maybe he already planned to. Whiskey. Rare steak. No mistakes. And then a mistake happened anyway. One of the senior servers spilled a drink on him. Not a dramatic splash, just enough to ruin a suit that probably cost more than my car. The room went dead. Elias stood up slowly, eyes cold, voice calm in that scary way. "This place is a joke," he said. "I'm done. That should have been the end." But something in me snapped. Not anger, not bravery, just recognition. I knew that look on his face. I'd seen it years ago when I lived overseas with my mom in a tiny coastal town where language meant more than money. Elias wasn't just angry. He was disconnected, surrounded by people who feared him and told him nothing real. I didn't plan it. I didn't think about consequences. I just spoke. Not in English. In a dialect almost no one recognizes anymore. A phrase my grandmother used to say when someone left before finishing a conversation. "You forgot what you came for." He stopped, hand on the door, didn't turn around right away. The silence stretched until it hurt. Who said that, he asked. Roland lost his mind. "She's new," he barked, pointing at me. "She didn't mean anything by it. She's fired." Elias raised one finger, and Roland shut up instantly. Elias walked back toward me, eyes scanning my face like he was trying to remember something he'd buried. "Say it again," he said. So I did. And this time, I leaned into it. The rhythm. The old metaphors. The kind of language you don't learn in school, only from people who raised you. I told him anger burns bridges. Patience builds homes. I told him food can fail, but respect shouldn't. He stared at me like I'd punched him in the chest. "Where did you learn that?" he asked. I told him the truth. About my childhood. About the woman who taught me that language. His expression changed. He asked a name. When I said it, his jaw tightened. She was family, supposedly dead. That's when everything shifted. Elias sat back down. Ordered me to serve him. Only me. Told Roland that if anyone else came near the table, he'd shut the place down for fun. Over the next hour, a story unraveled. The woman who raised me wasn't just family. She was inconvenient. Written out of a will. Erased so a business partner could take control of an empire. Before she died, she gave me a box and said, "If anyone ever comes asking questions, the wolves are close." The wolves were very close. By the end of the night, Elias offered me a job. Translator, consultant, something vague and dangerous sounding. 10 times my salary. I tried to say no. He didn't hear it. We left together, and within hours my apartment was broken into. Everything trashed. They were looking for the box. We found it anyway. papers, proof, a ring, a drive full of recordings that changed everything. That's when it stopped being about a restaurant and started being about survival. I was hunted. We were chased. Elias was betrayed by the man who raised him, beaten, locked away. I ran with the truth because someone had to. I crossed borders. I broke rules I didn't know how to explain to myself. I found a kid who didn't know his real name yet but carried the weight of an empire he never asked for. And I brought him back. The final confrontation didn't look heroic. No slow-motion speeches, just a boardroom full of people who suddenly realized the waitress they'd never noticed was holding their futures. I laid out the proof. I watched lies collapse in real time. The powerful man who thought he'd won tried to laugh it off. He didn't laugh for long. Elias got his family back. The kid got his name. The empire didn't collapse, but it changed hands. And me, I didn't go back to serving tables. I opened a place of my own. Real food, real people. No fear. Here's the thing. This wasn't about being clever or brave. It was about being underestimated. About how dangerous it is to assume the person standing quietly in the corner has nothing to say. I spoke the truth in a language no one expected, and it cracked everything open. So let me ask you something honestly. If you were in my place, would you have stayed quiet? Or would you have risked everything to speak up even if the person in front of you had the power to crush you? Tell me what you think. Was it right or was it reckless? Drop your take in the comments because stories like this only matter if we actually talk about them.